Welcome to the Business Spotlight Series. My name is Dona Kappmeyer, and I'm going to be your host for today. I am very excited to have our special guest, Dennis Meador, DM, aka, on our show. DM is the CEO of the Legal Podcast Network, and today we're going to speak with him about all of the challenges and successes of owning and operating a business. If this is the first time on our channel, please be sure to like and subscribe so you can continue to get our great content. Well, DM, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on.
Thank you very much. It is an honor and pleasure to be here.
So I kind of feel weird because this is different because you are a podcaster. So I almost feel like I should be flipping the script and you should be interviewing me versus me interviewing you. But I'm really looking forward to being on this side of the fence.
So let's start with that. I am not a podcaster. I am a business owner that uses podcasts. And there is becoming a big differentiator in that. The aura or essence of what a podcaster has been is kind of like the revamp of like ham radios back in the 70s. With your uncle in the basement talking to somebody in Japan and thinking how cool it is. Like in the beginning, that was kind of the podcaster persona. It was just weird outlier people that wanted to talk about, cults or their weekend or beer or whatever. But podcasting is becoming and has become mainstream, and it is the most trusted form of media that exists now. And so because of that, many businesses have moved into podcasting. So I actually am not a good podcast host. I have 8 people who host all of my clients. I don't host any shows. I have one show that I host, but it's a narrative. We can get into it, but it's a whole different little thing. We do it with AI animation. It's a superhero themed show with AI animation about building authority through media is what it's called.
Yeah.
And with that, I just kind of it's pre-written for me. I do this fun voice. I'm Bam Man, and it's like get in there and I conquer sameness one platform at a time. And so we have fun with that. And then I have experts on, so it's a narrative plus interview. Then I have the expert and I say, so and so, and we give them like a character name and all of that. What do you do when your bio is turning people away and it's become biohazardous on LinkedIn? And then they'll kind of talk about, what do you do? So I am a podcaster, but I'm a business owner who uses podcasting to the advantage of other business owners. And that's kind of what started this whole process.
So let's go with that. So love it. And thanks for that clarity. So you got the Legal Podcast Network. So what exactly does a Legal Podcast Network do, and how did you get started with that?
Let's start with where I started and end with where I am instead of flipping it. Is that okay? You asked them in
Perfect.
reverse, but okay.
Yeah.
So I am a serial entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur. My first kind of foray was when I was 14 years old. I basically had like most of the jobs that a 12, 13, 14-year-old boy would do: mowing lawns, raking leaves, shoveling snow, paper routes. But I didn't do the work. My brother, who is younger than me, my stepbrother, and his friends would mow the lawns, shovel the walks, do the paper routes, and I would get the customers and collect the money, and then I would pay them for doing the job, and I'd take half, they get half, and then they'd say, "Why do you get half? You didn't mow anything." And I said, "Well, if you want to go knock on, 25 doors, have 20 of them tell you no, have 3 of them tell you yes, and then never answer their door again, have 2 of them tell you maybe, and have one of them sign up with you, then you can go ahead and do that. But if you don't want to have to worry about it, then I'll take care of everything, and you just go do the work." And so that that taught me very quick at a young age that there's a lot more power in empowering other people to be successful than there is in solely seeking success for yourself. So I kind of continued along that vein. I got into marketing when I was in 18, 19 years old in college. And I really liked it. I just liked the concept of it. I liked that, like, you could see a billboard on like a McDonald's billboard, drive down the road, and somebody in the car 2 minutes later would go, "Man, I'm hungry. Anybody want to go to McDonald's?" And I was just like, that is crazy. Like the concept of how advertising worked to me was just kind of a crazy thing. So I got into selling ads. I actually became a script writer, which is kind of nice because I made my own hours. I got paid well. But then I ended up where, because I was working for a company that was soliciting donations over the phone way back in the day when that was a thing.
Yeah.
Um, and I saw this like group of guys, there's like 10 of them, and they were making like 30, 40, $50 an hour. And this is like 96, 97, right? Really good money. I was making
Yeah.
20, 25, good money for a college student who made his own schedule because I was writing scripts. But I was like, what do those guys do? That's what I want to do. So they're like, oh, they sell ads in the police magazines. And I was like, all right, I'm in. So I went over there, did well, actually became the manager, got recruited. Then I started selling. Now I'm 19 years old, maybe. I'm selling. I get recruited by a company that did hospital patient handbooks. So I'd go in and meet with the hospital administrator, and then I would meet with like administrators of all these big medical companies or CEOs or doctors, and it was all of a sudden I was like, I'm 19 years old, pulling up in a van, a minivan that I got for free. That I don't know if cars still do this anymore because we mostly have golf carts here on the island. But you remember when you had a car where you turn it off and it go, prr, prr,
Yeah.
prr,
Of
right?
course. Yes.
So I
Please
would pull
turn
up,
off.
yeah, like I would pull up next to this like, Mercedes Benz or, high end car that I was like someday, and I would like turn it off and and then I go sit in the office with, the individual, and then they'd be like, yeah, this sounds great. 3,000 a month, sign the contract, hand it over to me. I go ahead. All of a sudden, I'm like 19 years old. I'm making like 3, 4, 5, 7 grand a week. And I'm like, this is
Wow.
crazy. Right. So fast forward a little bit, stayed in marketing, advertising, and then at about my early 20s, I had a friend that was like, hey, I'm going to start my own business. Do you want to start a business with me? And I was like, heck yeah. Like, I love advertising. I've been making sick money off of it. And if I'm making good money off of it, I can't imagine that the people who I work for aren't making good money off of it based on the way they treat me, the way that, things have been for me. So we start this company and takes off. Within a year, we're doing almost $5 million with a net 25% profit margin on a little product I had come up with. We had 30, 40, 50 people working for us. So I semi-retire. I was like, oh, I guess I figured out life. I semi-retired and like traveled around past, I did like evangelism work. And then that's when I started going back and forth to Romania, did some like mission work over there. But I always saw my ability to make money as like, I'm a conduit of an energy source. It's not something I hoard. It's not something I take in. It's something that, for whatever reason, luck, universe, higher power, I've been fortunate enough to figure out how to make money flow. And so that's what kind of got me into this whole. And so you kind of fast forward through my career. I've been in marketing now my whole entire career. I kind of niched down into attorneys about my mid 20s. And I really liked working with them because I didn't like the aspect of sales where you had to manipulate people.
Right.
If you could imagine, what if I could get you 5 new clients a month? How would your wife feel about that if she could get a new car? That sort of like
Yeah.
old school slimy, and I didn't like that. And every time I ended up in a situation where I that was supposed to be the approach, I would either have my own approach and do well with it, and they're like, we don't understand, you're not doing any of the manipulative stuff, or I'd just be like, yeah, this isn't for me. So working with attorneys and professionals, what I really enjoyed was just working in logic. It was, hey, this is what I'm doing. What do you think about it? I don't think so. Well, have you considered this? Oh, well, no, I haven't really thought of it that way. Well, what about this? Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, but what about this and this? Well, yeah, and that's a good point. But if you consider, and you could have this like discussion, this back and forth. No one was getting angry like a roofer who would be like, F you, I've done this 27 years. How dare you try to tell me how to run my bit? You know what I mean? It was just like,
Right.
I enjoyed that sort of like back and forth. Why? I mean, I was in church for years. I was in the kind of churches where we knocked on doors and talked to people. We stood on street corners and yelled loud and talked to people. So that barrier of like being embarrassed in a conversation was gone a long time ago, but I just didn't like the concept of manipulation. So I start working with attorneys. That's been the majority of my career. I've had different agencies. I've had social media agencies. I've had SEO agencies. I've had, just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Some have done really well. Some served their purpose for a time. Some, I had a different life transition, so I had to sell them off or whatever. 2018, I started a partnership with a guy. He's got a good SEO company, good reputation, but it hasn't grown. 9 years, 78 clients, barely doing $1 million. So I come up to him and I'm like, listen, I see your product. I see what you're doing. We can kill this. I can take you. I was like, let's do a 5-year contract. At the end of 5 years, if you don't want to make me at least a 1/3 partner in your company, you can, here's how you could pay me off. I'll make good money. You make good money, whatever. So I did that. It took off. And so I started like getting bored really quick. So I started a podcast in Austin called ATXAF at the time. And yes, the AF means what you think it means in
Okay.
2019.
Okay.
Um, and I was just like, Austin's a cool place, but no one's running around like people talk about how cool Austin is. Like every time I traveled, every time I met somebody, they'd be like, oh, now you're in San Antonio. You probably have a different opinion. But at that time, in the world, Austin was the cool place, like as far as America. But even if I traveled anywhere in the world, they'd be like, oh, Austin, Texas, I've heard about that place. It's so cool, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, let's just get a camera and start talking to these people. I launched a podcast. I had like a 3-camera crew. We did it on site. We would stack the guests. I did it all out of my pocket, did about 60 episodes, spent about 150 grand on it. Didn't make a dime, but I built some really good relationships out of it. And what I learned was that production value in podcasting is the easiest differentiator. If you can have a good quality production value, you can set yourself apart very quickly and people are going to pay attention to you a lot quicker. So, kind of put that in my back pocket. We come to the end of the 5 years. We're 5 months, 4.5, 5 months away from my wedding. It is December of 23. And he says, "No, I don't want to renew." He had some consultants in his ear. I'd grown it from less than 80 clients to 300, almost 400 clients, from
Wow.
right around 1 million to about 5 million a year. And sometimes what happens in situations like that is you can't see what you're making because you see what the other person was making. I probably, with the way we structured the comp, and I told him this in the beginning, I said, if you give me this compensation, in 1 to 2 years, I will make more money than you, but you will make 3 to 4 times the amount of money you're making now. And then he was like, oh, business tip number one, everybody's agreeable until money starts being made. The second that success happens, success tends to be the biggest separator in business and personal life. Everybody thinks once I have success, I'm going to have all the relationships are going to be the way I want them to. Me and my bit, like, no, that
No.
is more often, the separator than anything else. And so he had somebody in his ear. You don't need this guy anymore. He came up with your process. He's got the sales force. He's got everything set up. Now he's just living off what he created, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, dude. So I went to my then fiance and now wife, and I was like, 5 months from the wedding, that money I was making that was allowing us to live on an island and travel freely and kind of live the life that, I mean, when I say travel freely, I'm not taking first class. I'm taking, I'm still taking like regular, what do they still call it, coach? It's
Mhm.
whatever the regular, economy. Yeah, that's what it is. I'm still taking economy. Like I'm not like hiring private jets, but I'm still going where I want and kind of doing what I want, but being smart about it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, listen, this has provided this life for us, but I got to start from scratch. And she's like, go get it. And I was like, all right, but for about the next year, you know how I've been kind of like only needing to work like 2, 3 days, like for probably the next year or two, I'm gonna have to like 7 to 8, 7 in the morning till 8 at night, sometimes 5 in the morning till 7, 8, 9 at night. Like I'm gonna have to put in the time that I need to get this where it needs to go. And she's like, I understand. Do what you got to do. So awesome to have that sort of support in my life, somebody that believed in
Yeah.
me in a moment where it was like X amount of money is gone. Maybe somebody that had a lesser character at that moment would have said, well, this just, if you aren't what you were, then maybe I don't want to be with you. But I'm thankful that it was, maybe a good test of genuine love before we signed on the dotted line, right? Um, so I had the podcast concept in my mind before I even like, because I write down business ideas. I'm always just like, I guess I call myself a business geek. Like some people love sports and stats and this and that. I'm a business geek.
Love it.
I pay attention to business. I think of, like I could sit there and be like, okay, so you got it and you're charging this and that. So what are you making about this much per year? So you got to take this and like I'll have business owners be like, what are you looking at my books? I'm just like, no, like I'm a business geek. I get what's going on here. Like this is what you're working, this is what you're making, this is what you're paying, this is what your charges are. Here's what I know about the food wholesale here is. So blah blah blah. Like I just kind of business geeky like that. So I keep a notebook in different places with lots and lots of ideas. Some of them are silly restaurants that I'll never invent or never come up with in my life. Some of them are, they're concepts in industries I wouldn't want to be in, but they just come to my mind and I'll literally write out like margins and products and like how I would like theme it and just, again, just mental exercise for fun. I had the Legal Podcast Network written, and it came because I kept having attorney clients ask us, me, and the people that were on my team, do you guys do anything with podcasts? And I was just like, no, no, I don't know. No, I don't know anybody does something like if you want a podcast, just get a microphone and plug it to your computer, I guess. Like, go. Like I didn't really, but as I kept hearing that, I was like, I made a bunch of money off of Facebook when no one quite had figured it out in like 12, 13, 14. I made a bunch of money off of Instagram or 10, 11, 12, 13. I made a bunch of money off of Instagram in 14 through 19. Maybe podcasting is something that I could kind of monetize and look at differently. So I came up with this concept. And really, what we do is our podcasts, like our clients, for the most part, they're not the hosts of their own shows. They are the guests of their own shows.
Okay.
And the show is about their authority and their expertise. And so we will have like a injury attorney in Atlanta. And he is, we work with one per category, per niche, per market.
Okay.
And, one episode will be, it's about a 15, 20-minute episode, 7 to 10 questions. My hosts are all like professionals, like they've either done podcasting, radio hosting, television hosting. And so they contract, they come in, they meet with the attorney, they make him feel at ease. There's a producer right there. We also now are getting into the process of bringing on a guy that's going to run a team that's going to help like the actual studio setups so that they just plug in. We say, okay, buy this equipment. All right, now get with him for 30 minutes. He's going to help you set it up. Okay, great. Now just plug in, click on this link. Now John's going to talk to you for 20 minutes. And it's just like a regular Zoom sort of, we call it across the desk approach. We ask them the types of questions that they're already being asked pretty much every day. And then we take that and we say, okay, now we got a podcast. And we put that video, audio, YouTube channel, all the Apple, Spotify. It's like 25 to 28 different channels that we put all of their content on. But that's not enough because that's where I started. And then I would give them 3 pieces of content. And I would say, I'm not even going to get into the real challenges of my business if I keep talking like this. Let's just say we 10x'd our content because we learned that just giving somebody a podcast is not enough. It's got to be marketed properly. It's got to be distributed properly. It's got to be positioned properly. And the pieces of it have to be used properly. So with every podcast shoot, we create 30 pieces of content. So that's a month's worth of content. We place the content for them on up to 10 outlets daily. We create 2 to 3 pages of content for their website. That was LPN 2.0. It started off with a podcast distributed and 3 pieces of content that you can do what you want with it. It evolved into 30 pieces of content that we distribute for you. Now, the next evolution is what we're calling LPN Eco. We have 2 streaming television channels like Netflix. You can download on Roku or Amazon or LG or the different platforms. And one is a channel for lawyers from shows that we have for lawyers. We have shows from like chief marketing officers that focus on law firms and chief financial officers, or one lady, she does like helping women in law dress powerful so that they feel confident and do well in the courtroom. So we have like all these like mental health, holistic health for attorneys. So we have, I think, about 15 or 20 shows like that. So we created that channel, and then we're creating another channel that they can download that is from the attorneys to their local market. So you can literally go in and be like, okay, I want to talk about divorce and I live in Alabama. And it'll say, there's this guy in Birmingham, this guy in Tuscaloosa, and this guy, lady in this market. Whose do you want to watch or listen to? Well, I live in Tuscaloosa. Let me watch a few of his. Oh, okay. This episode's about, divorce for men who want to make sure that they get like the recreational boats and stuff. Like, I didn't even know. Okay, let me. And so we try to do very niche, very specific content for two reasons. One, if I feel like you are if I feel like the service you provide is tailored to my very specific need, I am much more likely to work with you than somebody who just says, "Come one, come all, I can help everybody."
All right.
Right? Versus a guy who says, "All right, if you're in your late 40s, you've been a pretty decent income earner, you've got this sort of set of assets that you want, and you want partial custody, not just every other weekend. I'm the guy for you, or I'm the lady for you." I am going to be attracted to that attorney. And
Yeah.
so that's what we try to do is use that positioning. Now that's why now we have 5 or 7 shows have nothing to do with legal. A real estate agent, a guy who helps parents do like get their kids scholarships, and I'm like, what is this show? And they're like, they said they don't care that we're legal. So I now am launching the Authority Podcast Network, where I can say coaches, consultants, realtors, whatever you do that isn't legal, not illegal, but is not under the legal
Yeah.
platform, right? I don't want an illegal podcast network, folks. But whatever you do that doesn't fall under the umbrella of legal, we can help you with that. So we're launching the Authority Podcast Network, which is just a carbon copy of what we're doing, but with a different set of ecosystems and a different set of eyes to consume that content.
That is
So
fantastic.
that's who I am, and that's what I'm doing. Now, see
Um,
how many more questions you can get in the next 23 minutes.
I'm going to try. All right, so let's talk about the benefits. And I want to stay on the legal side for a minute. So, having that approach with the Legal Podcast Network, how have the attorneys now seen the benefit of that with their business? Have they seen an uptick? What kind of value are they getting out of it?
So there's a few things that this is designed to do. Number one, it's designed to set you apart because there's a lot of commoditization in a lot of industries. That's just what happened with the internet. And so now, I become niche. And so what happens is you get more clients who fit your ideal profile who you can correctly charge. Because what I've heard from attorneys for years now, especially like the last 7, 8, 9 years, is like attorneys that were well established. Again, I'm kind of a business geek, and I kind of figured out like what most attorneys charge in most markets. I'd be like, so you're in this market, you're doing this, you're probably charging about this, this, and this. And all of a sudden, I guess it's been about 7 years ago, I started hearing, I wish I used to be able to charge that. But with all these young people in the market and the internet and everything else, I can't charge what I used to. So I've had to go back 20% on my rates. And so they had lost authority. And that's what we're really trying to do is when you come to me because I'm option number 7 out of 25, you hold all the power.
Yeah.
But when you come to me because I am the attorney for you in your special case, I hold the power. So we started building a marketing system that starts at the client so that what I call authoritative positioning, so that when the client comes to our clients, their client comes to our client, they don't say, well, how much is it? They say, what is it going to take to work with you? Because you think about it, like if you listen to podcasts, we gain affinity for people that we see on screens or we hear, we esteem them. We're just as a culture.
Right.
And so, and this isn't about, like I tell my clients, this isn't about getting a million hits. This isn't about getting a million views. These podcasts are not for mass consumption. They're for specific people at a specific time in a specific place with a specific problem that you specifically can solve. And
Yeah.
so we just build that kind of database. And the other benefit is LLMs, all of these, all these new chat GPTs and da 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 da, they are building off of QA, question, answer, question, answer. That's how they're understanding humanity. That's why computing is going to the next level. And so, how do we understand? We ask questions and we receive answers. All the LLMs are doing is that thing. So now we're structuring their content in a way like if you Google me, it's just like 3 pages of my podcast and the questions I've answered. And like that's all it is. It's just all the things I've said in response to this, or that. Right. And so we're enabling people to future proof with whatever's happening with the internet because SEO as we know it, I don't care what anybody says, and you can hold on to your SEO just like people held on to the yellow pages for the first 5 years of my digital career. You can hold on to SEO as long as you want, but SEO as we know it is changing dramatically, not by the year, not even by the month, but by the week. Like I just read an article talking about how PPC agencies are going to PPC agencies and saying, we've lost 60% of our business because all we know and all we do is PPC. So like the landscape is changing quickly. So why not diversify, own your channel, and future proof what you're doing? And that's what podcasting allows if you then, create the videos and the other things and the website content and all of that. So that's the big advantage is it brings clients to them who are coming to them not as an option, but as the choice. It's just like they're already walking in and being like, oh, well, you're my attorney. You just don't know it yet. I'll give you a real cool illustration of this.
Yeah.
So we live in Belize on an island, but not great health care here. My wife is pregnant. And so we went and visited Merida, Mexico, which is known for like travel birth and like medical. And it's one of the top 50 safest cities in the world. I think top 25, the safest in Central America and South America. Very safe place to live. Great culture. It was like founded in 1542, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so unbeknownst to me, we're sitting with this doctor. My wife had two doctors she wanted to visit with. And as we're sitting down, we're going through, the doctor would ask the question. She had the answer every time. And he would be like, wow, you really know your stuff. And she's like, well, I've been doing my research. That's all she said the whole time. And then at the end, he said, do you have any questions for me? And she said, no, I pretty much know everything about you. I've been following you on Instagram for 2 years. I've just been waiting to get pregnant so I can become your patient.
Wow.
That's how buying is done now.
Wow.
And so what I'm trying to do is help professionals get to this new level of it's not going out in the community and going to soccer games. It's being in people's phone that they're spending 4 to 5 hours a day conservatively scrolling through and making connections because we're 3.5 generations into digital connecting. Most of the closest people in my life I have never even met. One of my sales guys I have known for 22 years, he recruited me into the legal sales industry in digital 22 years ago, and we have met one time.
Oh my
And we've
goodness.
had businesses together. We've had, one's worked for one, one's worked for the other, and now he's worked with me for the last 3 or 4 years and come over with me here. And that's just one example out of dozens. I mean, in my company alone, I have people I've known 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, 3 years, and I've never physically met them. We've only digitally connected, but we're close. We're friends. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I go somewhere, they come with me. They're like, I'm not going anywhere unless you're there.
I love that.
So, like, it's all digital. But we think, well, I got to go to the networking meeting, and stop thinking like it's 30 years ago and understand that we're 3 generations. We started living in the internet in 2008. We're coming on 20 straight years. Millennials started, so in our late teens, early 20s, right? Millennials started in their early teens. Z started from birth.
Yeah.
Alpha is starting at birth.
Yeah.
So these generations want to connect here, and we're more worried about connecting here. And that's not where people connect anymore. But the advantage to that is we can connect at scale. So you and I do this, and I say something silly, or I say something profound, or you say something silly or profound, and that little clip gets clipped off and we throw it off somewhere, and all of a sudden thousands of people or tens of thousands of people go, oh, he knows what he's talking about, or she's pretty smart. Oh, I should check them out. And then they go to our website and then they go, oh, they got a podcast. I'm going to listen to the podcast. Oh, and like this is how relationships are built now, especially for business owners at scale. So I'm just basically saying, all right, we've got the next thing coming. Hey, lawyers, you missed the whole website thing. I don't need a website. Then you missed out. Then you missed the SEO thing. I don't need that SEO stuff. I already got a website. Then you missed it. Then you missed out on the social revolution. I don't need that. Now, don't miss out on personal branding and on really, and I think that's what podcasting is doing, is it's driving home this new opportunity to connect at scale, personal branding and founder-led marketing. That's really what we hang our hats on, because people don't trust logos, they trust people. And
Yeah.
so by me just plastering my logo everywhere doesn't make people want to work with me anymore. But by me getting out here and having conversations and making myself real and posting on LinkedIn and putting videos from interviews and doing all of this, it makes me a real person to people. And then they're like, yeah, I've been thinking about a podcast. And I get an inbox in LinkedIn, or I'll get an email, or I'll get somebody fill out an application on the website, or we'll have people call in and they're just like, hey, I've been listening to you guys, that DM guy, and he said some pretty decent stuff. And I think tell me a little bit more. And then my sales team is just like, come over here and we'll help you. And we grow. So, and I don't see why anybody can't do it. If this knucklehead can do it, I think you can too.
I like that you say that, and I think it's just a matter of timing, right? When they finally get out of their own way and say, okay, let me just go ahead and try it out.
Yeah.
And so with all the evolution of technology and AI being introduced in the equation, I like to ask, where do you see things going 3 to 5 years from now? But maybe that's too far. Maybe we need to go a little bit shorter, but let's just look out. Where do you see things going in the next 2 to 3 years as it
Well,
relates to the business that you're in?
I think that's why the personal branding is going to be so important, because people started looking for connections digitally. And now that we're here, we're trying to digitalize digital, right? By
Right.
creating these personas and AI people and things like that. I think the people that get out ahead and establish a personal brand that is clearly a real person saying real things in real scenarios is going to have a big advantage in the space, because in 2, 3 years, when everyone's just like, well, I pay $30 a month and my digital AI me does all the marketing and it just 24/7 answers questions. And like, it's like, you know, we we got we got phone answering systems, but we still have people that answer phones. Like there's
Yeah.
still going to be a significant portion of people. Like when you call into AT&T, or at least when I call into like AT&T and like monolithic type places like that, like when I call in, the first thing I'm like, representative,
Yeah, me too.
representative,
Same thing.
real person, please. Real per you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think what's going to happen is as people go, their mind's going to go person, person, oh, person. Oh, huh, okay. And then they're going to connect. And so I think that what will happen is there will be some that will take the path that most take, which is the path of least resistance, but also least gain, which is just let AI do it for me. Just
Yeah.
clone my face, clone my voice, clone my persona. Now you go write for me, you go talk for me, you go do everything for me. And then everyone's going to be like, you remember the show Max Headroom?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, everyone's going to be like, hello, 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 hello. Welcome to my law firm. Law
That's a
firm.
throwback. That's right.
Right? So like
Yes.
I think so there's going to be people that are going to go the path of least resistance, but they're going to have the least benefit. And the people that want to be successful, especially on a local level, and that's the key. It's like everyone's like, oh, this company built out $400 million a year in business and they're worldwide. It's like we can't build a worldwide company. 99% of transactions happen locally. And that's not a
Yeah.
stat I pulled from somewhere. I'm just using that sort of, but like
Right.
local is where we make our living. And so we have to utilize digital locally and be real And that is how we're going to set ourselves apart. Now, that being said, those who learn how to utilize AI to be more creative and multiply their efforts will be better than those who just do it purely in an analog way. So I see more of a hybrid in the future with AI of those, like, for example, with us, like when we first started, we could do 3 videos per client because we had to watch their thing and then stop and go, oh, that's a decent part. Now we have like AI that does it, and then the editors go back, they watch it, they clip it correctly because it'll stop at a weird spot and start at a weird spot, like, all of that stuff. And so I did, we say AI, then eyes. And so when the eyes come in, they look at it, they make it human because it's a human filtered through AI, now humanized again, then packaged and sent out. And so when you utilize both, now we're giving 10 times the value for the same basic cost, and it's at scale and at the same quality as it was before. And people who hold on to that sort of theory, I think are the people who are going to see the most success both locally and nationally, internationally.
Love that. Well said. Well said. Thank you for that. So we're about almost out of time. What are
I've
one or
answered
two?
2 questions.
No, but this is the way these work, right? You know what? You let it flow, and the information that you're providing is so valuable. So thank you for that. You've had a very successful career. What are one or two things that you have learned? Life's lessons that you'd like to share with this audience today.
I think one is don't underestimate yourself. I think I've met one of the things I've enjoyed in life more than anything else is being able to meet people that I can see have something that they don't see in themselves and being able to be a part of helping them realize what they have. You can call it mentoring, whatever. But I probably have about a dozen people in the Austin market that when I met them, they're in their early to mid 20s making 30, 40 grand a year. And now they're all 250 plus income earners. And I directly like had a part in, you know, mentoring them and their mind frame and the way they think. So don't underestimate yourself. Number two, don't underestimate the power of cumulative effort. Sometimes we want instant results. We want it to happen the second we do it. And listen, sometimes it does, and that's nice. Like that's great when it does. But sometimes when it doesn't happen, and one of the biggest things we have to do with our clients is just like, hey, give it some time. Like you have 3 episodes out. It's going to take 6 to 8 months before you're like what we tell them is during the first 4 months, you're going to have friends, family, people that are kind of associated with you start going, oh, yeah, I see you launched a podcast. That's cool. Maybe one person in that peripheral group of people around you that will be like, I've been meaning to call you, and they'll work with you so you get a client. But that's an outlier event. Months 4 through or 5, 6, 7, and 8, especially towards the end of that arc, now the algorithms have learned that your steady custom content on a continual basis will always kill it in the algorithms. Okay. So now you're going to start seeing fruit from that. And so that's just one example. But like I look at my own self, like, sure, I've had some like things take off and things like that. But it's the cumulative effort over my lifetime that has brought me where I am. Like, yes, we can have, like, I always used to say when I was a pastor, I'm looking for oak tree success, not mushroom success.
Nice.
Right. And so give it time to build roots, give it time to build up, give it time to where it becomes this impenetrable force that just, or it's there, but it's gone just as quick. And I hope your audio person doesn't have too much trouble with all my sound effects today.
I think
But
it's going to be great.
but yeah, the cumulative effect. So, never underestimate yourself, never underestimate the power of cumulative effort. That's what I would give folks.
Beautiful. Well said. What's the best way for folks to get a hold of you?
I mean, you can go to my website, see what we do, how we do it, all that fun stuff, thelegalpodcastnetwork.com, if you're watching this on video right
Yeah.
here. And we'll have a link to the authoritypodcastnetwork.com, just the same thing, theauthoritypodcastnetwork.com, if you don't fall into the legal place space. If you want to connect with me personally, LinkedIn is my digital language right now. That's a whole different thing I like to talk about, digital languages and, just and LinkedIn is where I spend my time. I talk to people, I connect with people. We do get business out of it, but I also built some great relationships out of it, both I call them, personally, professionally, not professionally, but PER professionally. So I've got a lot of professional friends. And a lot of that has been built through LinkedIn over the last couple of years. So if you want to be my professional friend, hit me up on LinkedIn, hit me in the inbox and just say, hey, I listen to your podcast. I appreciate it. Sometimes as I can imagine, you feel the same way, Donna. Sometimes it's really nice to know that we're not shouting into the abyss when we do things like this. When somebody says, hey, I like this, I appreciate that, I got something from it, I applied it, it keeps us going a little bit longer because we're just not shouting into the darkness.
Love it. Well said. Well, thank you so much, DM, for being on our show. It's been wonderful.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
This is Donna with the Business Spotlight series, along with DM or Dennis Meador with the Legal Podcast Network. Please be sure to like and subscribe so you can continue to see our great content. Thank you again, and bye for now.